Hello everyone, welcome back to Java Basics. I am Sanjay. In this video, let's try to understand what are control statements. A control statement is a statement which controls the execution flow of a program. Okay, so assume that I have a situation where I need to execute a certain condition based on true or false. Okay, if the condition is true, I have to print a particular piece of code or a statement. If the condition is false, then I have to print another piece of code or statements. So in such situation we make use of conditional or decision making statements. Okay, so those are if else if, nested if or switch. And also in program we come across a situation where we want to print a piece of code multiple times as long as the condition is true. Okay, when the condition is false, the loop terminates and it moves to the next statement. For such situations we make use of loops or iteration statements. So we have while, do while and for loop. Okay, now let's try to understand if else if, nested if and switch statements with an example. Okay, let me go to Eclipse and create a new class. I'll name it as control1 and make use of main method. I will declare a variable and initialize with some value 20. Okay, now I'll make use of if statement. If and it is followed by a condition. So the condition is, so you can give any condition. So I'll take the condition as if x less than 10. Okay, so what should happen if x is less than 10? So I say print number is less than 10. Okay, so this is my condition and this is what I want to print if this condition is satisfied. So now when I run this program, you see that nothing is printed. This is because first the program checks the if condition and this if condition is not satisfied because x is not less than 10 because x is 20. So after it moves out of if statement and checks if there is anything to print outside the if statement. There's nothing to print, so it prints blank. I'll make use of another print statement outside if block and I'll say number is number is greater than 10. So when I print this, so you see that number is greater than 10 is printed because if condition is not satisfied, so it moves out of the if block and prints whatever is there after the if block. Okay, now assume that I don't want to hard code this value. Okay, if this condition is not met, it is printing number is greater than 10 which is outside the if block, but I want an condition if it is not true, then print whatever is there in the false condition statement. Okay, so I'll make use of else and I say number is greater than 10. Okay, let me take the same thing. Now when I print this, you see that number is greater than 10 is printed twice. So what is happening? So first it checks if condition. If x less than 10, no, 20 is not less than 10, so this statement is ignored. Then it moves to the next statement, else. So whenever we have if and else statement, if statement is false, okay, then it blindly prints whatever is there in the else statement. So it prints number is greater than 10 and it moves out of the else statement. Then it sees that there is another print statement and again that print statement is printed. Okay, so let us do one thing. Let us make this as statement printed. Sorry, yeah. So when I run this, we see that number is greater than 10 and this print statement is executed. Now assume that I'll change the value of x equals 9. So what should happen here? right? First it checks if x is less than 10. So 9 is less than 10, true. So if condition is printed, okay, then the else statement is ignored because this condition is true and the program doesn't print whatever is mentioned in the else statement. So it moves out of the else statement and prints the next print statement. So let me print this. So you see that it is printing number is less than 10 and it moves out of else statement and prints statement printed. Okay, so this is how we make use of if else statement. Assume that I want to add one more condition. The condition is if x is greater than 10 and less than 15, print something xyz. So for that situation what we can do is we make use of else if. Okay, again in round brackets we mention the condition x, if x is greater than 10 and x is lesser than or equal to 15. Okay, let me take it as 15. Then what should happen? Print whatever is there in this if else block. So I'll mention number is between 11 and 15, right? And let me make it as number is greater than 16. So let me see what happens. Now if I make this as 19 and when I run this program, so we see that the code within the else statement is printed. So what is happening here? So first the program checks the if condition. If x is less than 10, this is false, so this is ignored. Then it comes to the next else if block. Then it checks the else if condition, x greater than 10 and x less than or equal to 15. So even this condition is not satisfied. Then it blindly prints the else statement, and after the else statement is completed it prints the next statement. Okay, so let me make it as 14 and print again. We see that number is between 11 and 15 is printed, so it is executing the else if condition. Okay, this is how we can make use of if, else if and else statement. Okay, now let's try to understand nested if statement. So what are nested if statement? It's nothing but if statement within if statement. Okay, so let me try to explain this with an example. Let's take the same example what we have used so far. Okay, let me comment this and let me use another if statement here, and I'll put a condition if x equals y. Okay, print this. So what I'll print, number is 5. Okay, let me take another condition. I'll make use of if statement again. If x equals 6, okay, then what should happen? Then I'll print number is 6, else, okay, both the condition fails, I'll say print number is less than 10. Okay, let me try to explain you this code what I've written here. It checks if x is less than 10. Okay, if this condition is true then it goes inside the if block, and it checks if the number is 5. If x is equal to 5 it prints number is 5, or if x is equal to 6 then this statement will be executed. If both if statement are failing then it prints the else statement. Okay, so you need to make sure that the if block will be executed only if this condition is satisfied, which is at the top. Okay, if this condition is not satisfied then it doesn't go inside the if block at all. Okay, it directly jumps to the next else if statement. Okay, let me check what I've entered. Okay, let me make it as 2. So when I run this program, okay, so it is printing the else block within the if block. Okay, here first it checks x is less than 10. Yes, 2 is less than 10, so the condition is true. It goes inside the if block. Then it checks, okay, there is another if block. It sees if x is equal to 5, 2 is equal 5, though this is not true, so this is ignored. Then it checks if x is equal to 6. No, it's not true. Then it moves out of that particular block. If both the conditions are failing, then obviously it will print the else block within the if statement. Okay, so now if x is equal to 6, so let's see what happens. So it prints this particular if condition. Now if x equals 12, now we see that number is between 11 and 15 is printed. So the entire if block is ignored, because here x is less than 10, but here the number is x is 12, so 12 is not less than 10. So the entire if block is ignored and it moves to the else if block, and it prints the statement within else if block. Okay, now let's try to understand what are switch statements. Okay, let me create a class. Okay, switch switch. Okay, before I go ahead, let me define what is a switch statement. So a switch statement is nothing but, comparing a value of a variable against a list of values which are defined inside the switch statement. Whenever there is a match between the value of a variable and the case value defined inside the switch statement, then that particular code is executed. Okay, let's try to understand with an example. I will declare a string variable name and assign a value. So let me assign my name, so Sanjay. Okay, now I'll make use of switch statement. So this is the syntax: switch, within the brackets I'll make use of the variable name and start and close the body of switch statement, and I'll make use of case. Since I'm using string, I have to write within the double quotes, so I'll give some value, ether colon, then some code, whatever you want to print. If the this is the case value, if the case value matches with the value of the variable, then this code will be executed. Okay, so I'll just give the name itself. So let me try to create multiple such cases so that we get a clarity on how it works. Okay, so let me name this as Sanjay. Rahul, and I'll name this as Arun. Okay, this is how we write a switch statement. Okay, so switch, then the name of the variable within the brackets, and these are the various cases where we compare the value of the cases against the value of the variable. So wherever a match is found, that particular case is executed. Okay, so now let's try to execute this program. Okay, the value of the case is matching. Sanjay is matching with the variable value, but unfortunately it is printing even the next two cases present in the switch statement. So but this, I don't want this. So to avoid that, we can make use of break keyword. So what break keyword does, so whenever the exact match is found, okay, it stops the execution and moves out of the switch statement, and it will print if there are any statement outside the switch statement. Okay, so let me try to print something outside the switch statement. I'll name this as outside switch. Okay, now if I re-execute the program, so we find that Sanjay is printed but not Rahul and Arun, and the statement outside this switch statement is also printed outside switch. Okay, this is how this switch statement works. And there's some conditions while you make use of switch statement. This switch cases cannot have duplicate values, so I cannot create another case with the same name as Hita. Okay, this is not allowed. And the one more thing is, here you know that the case values, these are known as case values, are all strings because it has to match with the variable data type. Now if you make use of integer data type, something 10 colon, okay, immediately you see a compiler error. It says that cannot convert from integer to string, so we cannot make use of different data types. So the data type should match with the data type of variable. Okay, and one more point I forgot to mention. Okay, so assume that now the variable name is Sanjay, and because we have a matching value, it prints whatever is there in the print statement. So what happens if none of the cases matches? So what should be the output? So assuming I'll make this as Sanjay 1, if I try to run this program, okay, it just goes outside the switch statement and prints whatever is there outside the switch statement. Okay, but there is a way to print something inside the switch statement. So we have a keyword called default colon, and I give a statement no match found. Okay, maybe I can comment this. So this default keyword indicates that if none of the case values matches with the value of the variable, then this will be executed. Okay, so let's try to execute again. So no match found. So here the variable name is the value of the variable is Sanjay, but here none of the case values matches with the value of the variable. So this is Sanjay 1, okay, and this is Sanjay. So it prints the value within the default block. Thank you.